In this battle, we managed to get 15-1. My army loses 684 men total. So I want to show you where the army is. I'm just about to get a couple of officers promoted to 3 stars. I have generals that are about to get promoted to 2 stars and do in this battle. The Iron Brigade, notice the efficiency is greater than the command. So even with a very good 2-star general, the Iron Brigade is much better than the chain of command is able to handle right now. And that happens in real life too, where the men in the unit are better than the officers that command them. So this unit's about to get its 2nd star, and does in the battle. And that unit, I don't think that unit does get the 2nd star. So that means I didn't have the 24-pound howitzers close enough to the enemy. I should have pushed them closer. The snipers do well. So this is a good little force. Notice everybody's at 1250, except for one unit, which is at 1356, which was one of those oversized units that's been bleeding down. So I'm not sure if he's even down to 1250 by the end of this battle. So the enemy is at 68 to 73. I'm a little concerned about that. But we're about to get over $70,000. The enemy is at 1455. I'm at 11,973. I win the battle. There's not a question going in with that ratio if I'm going to win or not. I'm going to win. So the question is, what's the kill ratio? So I'm showing you that there are some very nice lines, defensive lines, that I can take in the beginning of the battle. And I usually take lines that are further back. But this time I'm going to take lines that are more forward. So I go ahead and deploy my army. 2nd Division is going to go to the left, and 1st Division is going to go to the right. Now, one thing that's kind of interesting is that one of my divisions in 2nd Division gets there way ahead of everybody else. And I need to try to figure out why that happens. I'm going to take my 2 sniper units and put them very forward in the middle. You know, there are 2 groups of enemies that come in. And I want to create a central position, and if need be, shift guys back and forth, left and right. And the snipers, I want them to be flexible to also go left and right. So I don't like to do this. I'm having my units run. So that's a really good forward defensive line. I think Aetius was the first person I saw do this. Other people I'm sure have done it too, but it looks like a really interesting defensive line. So I've never run forward to that forward defensive line and tried to catch the enemy there, but I'm going to give it a go. And part of me thinks this isn't going to work very well, that I'm going to get like almost there and get caught, because I've never done it before. So we'll see. We'll see how well it works out. Turns out you have plenty of time to get there. Now, normally I move up to the river on the right side. I move all the way up to the river and defend, because that really is pretty good cover, and you have the river right in front of you. But I'm going to do something a little different this time, a technique I've been using this campaign, and that is let the enemy get into the water before I hit them. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm going to move some detached skirmishers forward just to keep an eye on things, because they have great visibility. And that's their job. Their job isn't really to engage, it's just to keep an eye on things. As my units get close to the enemy position, notice how one division is way ahead of the other 3. So as my units get close, I detach skirmishers, because that's always a good idea just by itself, but if the enemy comes in a little sooner than I'm able to get there, my detached skirmishers will be able to hold them up, slow them down, and my detached skirmish and my units can get into position. So if I get that wood line, if I get into that cover, it's going to be a very good time for me. So that's what I want to do. And don't forget about the supply wagon. Okay, we see enemy units on both the right and the left. And he had a 2-star skirmisher. Now those guys are really hard to see. It's hard for the enemy to see our units, and it's hard for us to see their units. So yeah, that's one of the things. You can just walk up on top of those guys. That's another good reason to have detached skirmishers in front of your units so you don't get surprised by those guys. I had originally thought that the Iron Brigade would be on the right side because the Iron Brigade's in 1st Division. But then as this unfolds, I kind of put him in the middle. Well, first he was kind of to the right, and then I kind of moved him to the middle. And now he's just got a flank shot on this guy, and so there's no question where he's going. He's going to grab those flank shots. Yeah, I want to let this guy on the right get into the water before I actually start attacking him. And I want to get him deep into the water, almost out the other side, because then he has to retreat all the way back across. And I really should let him actually cross. I as I'm watching this, I was afraid to let him come out of the water because I only have 3 units on the right side. And now I've committed the Iron Brigade to attacking to the left. So I'm a little weak on the right flank. So I decide not to let him come out of the water. That was my original plan. Let him come out of the water on my side of the river and then hit him, drive him back into the water, and then it'd be a real slaughter. And then also I see he's coming up with, a whole bunch of guys. So I decide, no, I'm going to hit him when he's in the water and drive him back, and then I'll have to respond to, I'm sure, other units that are coming up behind him. The Iron Brigade takes 0 casualties in this battle. So that was a lovely volley. So the guy gets hit by snipers and the Iron Brigade and just collapses, and that's great. Yeah, I have my artillery on the right side back so that my units can retreat and the enemy will come into the water. And the distance I have them back is about how far back I want my infantry units to retreat, which I'm going to. I'm going to move forward, hit the enemy, then fall back. So the enemy attacks again into the water. And the good thing about that technique is that you're going to catch the enemy in the water and inflict massive damage. But the bad thing for the artillery is it's kind of far away. They're going to do okay, but not great. So yeah, I'm looking at that, and boy, I'd really like to have that artillery a lot closer during this battle, but can't really do it. So yeah, I'm taking time to make sure that my units now run up, because when your units are really close, firing into units in the water, my unit's going to be in cover, his unit's going to have 0 cover, and I want to be as close to him as possible so volleys do even greater damage. I mean, this is just picture perfect. I have 3 units in good cover, firing into 3 units that should have no cover, at least 2 of the 3 of them. It doesn't get any better than that. So I'm a little bit afraid here that there are units hidden. I can see his artillery, but if there are a whole bunch of units that are not visible because they're in the woods, I could get caught. So I want to steal some cheap shots on his artillery, and that's why I send detached skirmishers forward and not infantry. And sure enough, there's some hidden folks there. But all these exchanges are going heavily in my favor. That unit that's flashing on the right, he's partially in the water, which should give him 0 cover. But even at best, there are no woods, I don't think, around him, so you would have at best 50% cover. But 0 is better. Now on the left, he has several units that have 0 cover, and it's always nice to take a few free shots on cav units. Always a good time. And there is a skirmisher out in the open, and my artillery just did really good work on him, and 2 infantry units firing into him. That was nice. So he's getting just hammered on his right flank, and this is going really well. And it's just a matter of not attacking too soon so I don't take too many casualties. But how do I want to finish this guy off? And when I hit him, I want to hit him with a hammer blow. The other thing you probably can't see is I'm checking the condition of all my units. Because I had them run up, especially the 2 units on the far left had very low condition. So rather than have them fight, I really just wanted them to stand in place and recover condition. And I had no intention of attacking hard against the enemy until they recovered condition. So, yeah, it's a big part of the timing of this, which is, kind of hard to get a feel of, is how much condition do my units have? So my unit on the far left has recovered some condition, and if I can take a few shots on his cav, happy day, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Then bring him back to... Maybe he'll guard the rear, security, one of the key principles. Maybe I'll have him come up and assist in the battle. The battle against the infantry, I haven't decided yet. I'm just letting things unfold. I'm pulling some detached skirmishers back because now his cav is going to be a nuisance. I thought about bringing in a cav unit, but no, I don't think I needed to do that. But now that I'm watching the battle now, maybe instead of the JF Browns, a cav unit would have been a better choice. In fact, now that I think about it, yeah, definitely the cav unit would have been a better choice. So I fell back on the right, and sure enough, he comes charging into the water again, and I'm going to hammer him for it. So that just is everything I hoped it would be. He's looking a little fragile on his other flank too, so I'm going to push a little bit and see what happens. He has 3 infantry units over there, and the deciding factor is the Iron Brigade is right on his flank, and of course I have a sniper over there too that'll be able to get shots on his artillery. So turns out this is decisive. On the right flank, I don't even have to look at it. He's going to get slaughtered. He's in the middle of the river. He's dead. So yeah, here's the Iron Brigade coming up on the flank of the entire enemy position and just going to do great work. And as soon as my sniper spots that artillery unit in the rear of the enemy, he's going to get lots of free shots on him, and the enemy position is just going to collapse. Yep, there's his artillery. So he's dead. 2 of his units are in full retreat. 1 unit is in the river. My detached skirmisher has been just tearing him up because he's in the middle of the river. And all of his infantry is going to be in the river in just a moment. So his flank on the right has collapsed. I'm not going to pursue him on the right just yet because, well, I want to focus on the left and I don't want to get distracted. That's one thing. But the other thing is I think his units are strong enough they're going to come back into the water. And notice I have kind of a wall of skirmishers and an infantry unit kind of keeping an eye on the cav unit. And since my infantry is advancing, I'm now going to move the artillery up. And this is on, a little bit faster speed. So everyone's just kind of moving. And now that the front line's moving, I'm moving the detached skirmishers up. Because I need to cover the rear of... I need to cover my artillery so that his cav doesn't run up and get a shot on my artillery. But I don't want my detached skirmishers to be so far away that I can't turn infantry around to support them in case they get into melee with his cav. His cav is back there. And I see him. Now I see him. He's eyeing the objective. Works for me. So I'm going to take some detached skirmishers and put them kind of in a blocking position. I really don't care that much if he makes a go for the objective. What I am concerned about is if he gets a shot on my artillery. Yeah, he's just collapsing. And he's collapsing into absolutely the worst position he could imagine. All his units caught in the river just getting withering fire. Just as I suspected, he is attacking back toward the objective on the right flank, which is what I wanted him to do. I don't want to go after him until he's so weak that he's just going to be easy to crush. Yep, that's a thing of beauty. 3 units in the middle of a river. The only mistake I made is I should have moved my artillery up close because, yeah, no reason not to. Okay, we have the enemy scrum here, the mosh pit that we always end up with, and they're going to drift around a little bit. I just want to make sure I don't get into melee until I want to. And if I had more condition on these units, I would definitely want to. The Iron Brigade has over 80 melee. I think he comes to you with over 100, but I've put some raw recruits in there, and so his melee has dropped. The reason I did that, my thinking is, the efficiency of the Iron Brigade is way better than the officer corps, the command line. So the command line is not anywhere near close to the efficiency line. So buying veterans is a waste of money because the unit isn't going to perform at level 100 if your command line is only 82. There's a huge debuff. So even though I put raw recruits into the Iron Brigade, the efficiency line is still much better than the command line. So I didn't really lose anything. I don't know if it's 100% debuff down to the level of the command line or if it's 50% debuff or something. But you don't get to keep all of it. So I'd like for this guy just to stay at a melee because I have units firing on these infantry units from all directions. Now the enemy numbers are so so small, I want to go get him. So it's time to cross over the river and do as much damage as I possibly can. So now it's a question of going after these two groups. So he's dead on both flanks. And I'm taking a look at the casualties on both sides, and I cannot believe how well this battle has been going. So yeah, I see numbers like 400 and 300 on the right side, and he still has some numbers on the left side, but man, he's going to take some hits. And I just wish I had more condition in my units, because I would love to melee those guys and get some melee experience. And his cav is not doing anything. So I don't want to exchange shots with his skirmisher unit, with my infantry. But if he wants to run into the river, that would be great. If my infantry unit is going to exchange shots with the skirmisher, I at least want my infantry unit to be in the woods. So right now I'm just trying to keep my units out of melee until I get him down to 1 unit. That's the objective. On the right, I'm just going after him. He's defeated over there, and his units can't stand up to any pressure. So I'm going to send a skirmisher. The skirmisher I'm sending over to the hard left is going after the supply wagon. Yeah, I really should have had 1 cav unit. Instead of I don't know, the JF Browns did an awfully good job taking out his artillery. So I don't know. It's my skirmishers did a great job, and the effect they had on all of the enemy artillery was great. The effect they had on the infantry was great. My cav could have done a really good job on the infantry. I don't know. I do know at this point I wish I had some cav. Well, that makes sense. This is the pursuit phase, so of course I wish I had some cav. Yeah, his unit is pretty much beaten. I'm surprised his infantry unit is able to get a few shots off. That really is confusing. But I get into melee and he surrenders. So I was just kind of watching the exchange in melee, and you have to win those. I mean, that's a general that I would have lost if he had lost the melee. But there wasn't any doubt in my mind my unit was going to win. So we're finally going to snag that supply wagon. This little 3-star unit just doesn't want to die. And he's just hanging on. You can tell he's not firing volleys. He's down to almost no strength, and he's fighting to the last man. But, yeah, pretty much I'm going to let my infantry that has 0 condition, let them rest for a while and get condition up. And then we're going to go after that cav and the skirmisher unit in the center. The artillery should not survive my 2 sniper units, and the little 200-something infantry unit, he's dead. I mean, he just has no chance at all. So we'll be able to wipe those guys out. And then what I'm doing now is I'm moving the artillery up to get lots of free shots on somebody. That actually isn't free. Every shot you take costs money, and every shot I take with that artillery is going to cost a lot of money. So the question is it worth it? And I'm perfectly willing to exchange cash for a few more kills. Now, with the 24-pound howitzer, 24-pound howitzers cost significantly more per shot than any other artillery, and they've done that intentionally because of how much damage the 24-pound howitzers do. So they make you pay for it. But in my mind, it's worth it. Well, it's worth it if you're firing canister or exploding shell. It is not worth it if you're firing solid shell. So howitzers do a terrible job at long distance, but they cost the same amount of money, which is a lot. So to really maximize that, you would never fire the howitzers at long distance, which kind of makes sense because they're not accurate. And if you do, you're just going to hemorrhage cash for no reason. So what I'm doing with my howitzers, I'm moving them closer so that they're a whole lot more effective at well, they're not quite in canister range, but they should be. Notice the exploding rounds hitting all around the target. So if I'm getting that, then in my mind, it's worth the money. If I say exploding shells, it's worth the money. If I don't, then it's not. And if I see canister, well, canister, that's a great day. Okay, found his artillery, so his artillery's dead. And it's only going to take a couple more shots to take him out. So he's going to die. And I think I have more time than what I see on the clock, but the battle's over at 1700 hours, which is 5 p.m. That's a shame, really. And the reason it's a shame is not that I was going to get a few shots on his cav or wipe out his skirmisher. It's I don't think I get this supply wagon. So I think the battle ends and the supply wagon is still running away. So his cav rolls up and I get a couple shots on his cav, but it'd have been nice to have played that out, but only have well, the battle ends, unfortunately. I thought I had more time, but I don't. So because I was going to surround that cav and the skirmisher unit and hit them from all sides. So with medicine, 684 to 10,000, almost 500, 15 to 1. It's a great day. Okay, looking at the individual units, over 1,100 kills and lost 88, 1,100 lost 100, 1,100 lost 90, 80. The Iron Brigade lost no men. Killed 634. I would like to do that every battle. Thank you very much. That'd be great. Yeah. And then we got all these wonderful promotions, which I love. He had M&G Type 2s, and I did get $4,000 from a supply wagon. Happy day for that. Always take more cash. Got some Harper's Ferries back. Got 1,000 more men, so that pulls my manpower pool up to 71,000 men I'll never use. So always save immediately after the battle. This guy got his star. Love that. Love watching those white bars go up. So yeah, my avatar is about to get his 3rd star. I need a 3rd star general in 1st Division. Everybody's looking good. Iron Brigade still at 1250 men. Remarkable. Which is max size. That unit's about to get his second star. Came up a little short. So yeah, love that so many generals got promotions. That was super. So I'm now at 8 in economy. And when I hit 10, I'm going to sell my junk weapons, because that's how you maximize your cash, is sell all the junk you want to sell when you can get the best price, which is what I'm going to do. So the manpower pool has gone up before Fredericksburg, but I'm not worried about Fredericksburg. I shouldn't say that. Watch me get my butt kicked. But I'm not worried about Fredericksburg. The numbers are probably going to be about 1-to-1, but I'm only attacking on 2 flanks. So I'm not going to attack the enemy left. That's crazy. So start with I think I had over $500,000. And I don't buy weapons until I have to, but as you know, the store is empty. So after I buy all the weapons I want, I'll probably buy some cav weapons. I'll build a couple cav units, so I'll spend a little more. But I have quite a stockpile of weapons for Fredericksburg. I take a look at my army, and I have more weapons than I need to equip my army, I think. But even if I don't, I can afford... I'm going to try to spend a couple $100,000. But as I take a look at my army, I only need 2 corps to fight, because there are only 2 objectives I want to take. And I only need, 3rd Corps to harass the enemy. You have to do that thing at Fredericksburg in Phase 1 with like 4 units, which big deal. So I'm buying all the officers that are available as I do. I should have pretty much all the officers I need now. I'm going to continue to buy all the generals that pop up. So I have I have a lot of generals to put into the organization. Only 1 colonel, some lieutenant colonels, and very good majors. I'm going to... the captains and low-grade majors are there for the ballast units that I will build after Fredericksburg. But I kind of forgot that all the ballast units are going to be dissolved, so a whole bunch of majors are going to go back into the reserve. Not a big deal. So I have actually all the units I need right now to fight Fredericksburg. I'm not going to exchange reputation for 20-pound parrots. I'm not going to do it. So anyway, I'm going to spend some money, but not a whole bunch on equipment. I'm going to build some cav units. And then I'm going to, I don't know. My units don't need to be increased in size. They're all very close to 1250. So I don't have any undersized units. So I'll take care of that. It'll probably cost some money. But I don't see there's any way I spend $400,000. So anyway, I'll see you in Fredericksburg. Thanks.